Hello walkers, and welcome back to Montana. My name is Henry. I will be your proxy walker today, your virtual travel guide or your co-explorer. Virtual travel guide is a misnomer, as I like to point out, because I usually just discover things, but meaning I don't really know much about what I'm doing because I just got there. Montana is a little bit different, and I use the travel guide because hopefully the search engines will find out. Anyway, we are at the base of Frog Rock here in between Bozeman and Livingston, and I'm just starting. I usually like to start moving, but today I am going to point out a few things. One, we got some potential thunderheads in the distance, a couple hours away, so we'll be fine. Beautiful day today. It's 74 degrees Fahrenheit, I think 76 degrees, 24 Celsius, I think that's right. 11 a.m. It's a 2-mile hike up to this point, and we're going to hike back to the trailhead from here. I want to thank our Patreon supporters. Your support, moral support as well as financial support, is much appreciated. Helps make these walks possible. If you want to learn more about becoming a Patreon supporter, there's a link down in the YouTube description. Much appreciated, but of course not necessary. What else am I say here? Oh yeah, mid-August, I guess. Anyway, I want to point out one thing. That's what I want to do. I'm like a little one of those dogs in Up, that movie, where things are having a conversation, then squirrel, easily distracted. This is a trail, and it continues on here. I'll talk more about this in a while, but I didn't really want to climb down that and then climb back up. This is, if you're looking for a virtual walking tour or virtual treadmill workout for weight loss or for any reason, this is a good one. But I also, and I would have filmed the way up, but then I was thinking it sounds like a creepy voicemail or a creepy phone call from the 1970s with all the heavy breathing. Ooh, squirrel. Or in this case, Indian paintbrush, which should probably be renamed, but this beautiful red flower, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Right here next to the trail, some wild strawberry as well. Whew. Might get some huffing and puffing anyway. Yeah, so normally on these nature walks, and I'm going to head back to the trail now, there's another, I'd say half mile if we went that way to where people climb. But anyway, I'm going to do a little more talking than I normally do on, or have been doing recently, on the nature trails. As I take a deep breath, hopefully the audio's okay. I have this clip-on microphone that goes with the DJI Osmo Pocket 2 camera that I'm using. But I wore a t-shirt today and there's no place to really clip it on, so I put it on my hat. Hopefully it's not too loud and not too soft. We're headed down in that direction, and hopefully the auto exposure is working here. But there's stuff to point out here, and I'm interested, and I want to share it with you guys. This trail is fairly close to Bozeman, and I looked at it on All Trails, and it says it's not that popular. You would not judge that. You not get that from the parking lot. There is plenty of parking. You get off at exit 316 of Interstate 90 and head east on Trail Creek Road for about 1/8 of a mile, maybe. And then there's just places to pull off next to the road. Front end in is preferable rather than parallel, just so everybody has room to park. Some signs and stuff. As soon as I got out of the car, I remembered that I had forgotten my bear spray. So hopefully we won't meet any. It's a pretty popular trail, so hopefully the bears are not around right now, or the moose. This little spur trail, though, is not as popular. Haven't seen anybody on this section, but I have seen some moose scat and some bear scat, which I will try to point out if I remember, and I'm thinking about it on the way back. This trail sort of works its way around the north side of this, the north-facing side of the ravine. So the southern side of the ravine, but faces north. So it doesn't get as much sun during the year, and consequently, it does not. It gets more water, or has more water, retains more water. So it's pretty verdant in here, pretty lush. Which means there's lots of places for bears to be and not be seen. Also saw a falcon of some sort. I'm not sure what kind it was. We have lots of falcons, or several falcons in Montana, one of which is the peregrine, but I couldn't tell what it was. Pretty sure it was a falcon. In any case, just a beautiful, cool after morning walk, yeah. And this trail is pretty accessible, actually. The first bit is a little steep, first quarter mile or so, but not that bad and easily doable. It's popular with hikers, climbers, mountain bikers, I believe, although, man, hardcore people going up that hill. Anyway, and you can even ride horses up here. It's in the national forest, it's public land, yay. So that's kind of the deal. And the views are not as spectacular except in a couple places, which I'll try to point out. But it's just so nice to be in the forest, in all this natural plant growth, trees, whatever. It's just really pleasant. I think the Japanese, can't remember the Japanese name for it. Shiro and Rico's? Oh, that's terrible. Sorry, I should know that. But anyway, it's called forest bathing. And people go out into the forest and just kind of absorb or let their anxiety disappear into the natural space. There's a trend now called earthing, where you go out with your bare feet and absorb the vibrations or the electrical fields of the earth. All very new agey and wellness community type stuff, but I'm not sure I buy into the how, but I do buy into the fact that it's something about the human psyche that is evolutionarily drawn to that. I have no way to defend that thesis, but I guess I don't really need to. I'm wearing my sandals again, and last nature hike, the one before Red Lodge, the Lava Lake hike, I wore these sandals, and that was a little bit more an extreme of a hike. It was a long hike down, over an hour, and it was great. Didn't have any problems really, but it was a nice little dark-eyed junco flitting about. But it was about the extent of the distance I could go. I'm going to point out something. These little cones here. See that? See those little feathers on there? I believe those are Doug fir pine cones. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be getting those confused with the spruce, but I think that's right. And there are, looks like, Doug fir in here. Maybe I don't know. Sort of talking with more confidence than I have expertise. But that's okay. There is cell service up here, so I could use my picture this app, plant identifier, but I don't really want to stop and go through that process when we're supposed to be walking. There's a nice cool breeze as we get into the shadow of a little bit of the shadow of the hillside here. I mentioned the north-facing slope, and it's because in the northern hemisphere, as you are probably already aware, the sun tends to go on a southerly side of the horizon as it goes east to west. Oh, here we go. Here is some lovely moose scat. It's pretty old. Large little pellets, similar to deer or elk, but bigger. So that was an exciting moment for us, everybody. And the further north you get with the sun, the further south it goes, especially in the winter. In fact, in the far north, of course, it goes completely dark during the day. Look at this. This is really pretty too. Sorry. This is, you can see the moisture that hasn't evaporated yet. We had thunderstorms last night, some heavy, intense rain. And you can feel the coolness of it, the cool air sort of coming down the slope, and we'll come up here to a little ravine, and it's really pleasant to enjoy. The water on these leaves is almost silver. It's got a little bit of a reflection to it, but you can, all the sound is dampened and soft, and everything about this is just relaxing and soothing. Look at this moss on the slope here where the water seeps out from the sides, the groundwater. Oh man. And you've got this moss and lichen coming off the trees here. Let me show you that. Very Bob Ross moment. It's still the best compliment I've gotten on this channel. It tickles me to no end. Somebody called me the Bob Ross of walking videos. I just love that. And I aspire to it now. I tend to think that I'm get kind of excited when these things, when we start the video and I'm, vomiting out talking points and information and thank yous and that sort of thing. Okay, here's Frog Rock, and we'll get another view of it, but you can see why it might be interesting climbing for people. There's a big spire back up in there, and we'll get a better view of it here, and you'll see that it kind of looks like a frog on an uphill angle. But also here, fortuitously, or unfortuitously, is some more scat, and that is bear scat, to the best of my knowledge. It's got a lot of plant in it, though, which is not unusual for bears. They eat a lot of plants, and as well as insects and meat, if they can find it or kill it, or dead animals, carcasses. That's what I'm looking for. They are omnivores, both black bears and grizzly bears. I have no idea. There's no way I can identify that scat from on a species level. I was thinking on the way up here, I recently borrowed a mandolin to teach myself how to play that. I'd gone to a couple things where people were sitting around playing music, and it just seemed like a lot of fun. I don't really want to play a performance or anything, but it does seem like fun to sit around and pick. So I'm going to show you guys another view of Frog Rock, obscured by trees. And we're not too far above where we are now, across the ravine there. You can see that little fin of rock down there. And you can just barely make out the trail above that. Anyway, so I'm plinking around and having a good time doing it. I haven't done any kind of musical instrument since 4th grade recorder, which is a common thing to do here in the States. Kind of a rite of passage, like the 7th grade perm for 7th or 8th grade perm. Anyway, the most recent song I've been trying to learn or fumble about with is Angelina Baker's bluegrass tune. So I've been humming that on the way up as sort of my theme song. And I'm not going to hum it for you guys because I have no rhythm or pitch. So I'm a in private kind of singer. Look at this old massive trunk here. I've talked about fallen logs and timber in past videos, but you can see the top of it down there. It's rotted, broken down, split, and is sort of found partly home here and there, and it's feeding moss and other trees and insects, and those insects are feeding birds and other things, maybe bears. All part of this amazing system, complex system that has evolved around it. Here's Frog Rock again. You kind of get a better view of that. Kind of make it out. There's the head is at the top, back slopes down to some legs there. I don't know. It's easier to imagine the further away you get. We're going to get into a section here, I think, where, a little further on. Anyway, there was a lot of down timber from storms, I think, and just the life cycle of trees. And this isn't really it, but further on, they've cleared the trail and they just cut the logs, shove them off, and that's enough. And the trees get to break down in the forest and feed that system I was talking about earlier. In other trails, I think I pointed out a couple places, it looks almost like trash, but it's just the nature of where they fell and were cut. So where we started, you could see and hear Interstate 90, I-90, that goes across the northern states of the U.S. and all the way through Montana, and it links Livingston and Bozeman, and it's nice, it's convenient, everything, but this trail, even though, oh, here we go, squirrel, even though this trail is beautiful, and look at this just jagged teeth of rocks up there, and the trees that have found homes in between these fins of, I guess, granite or sandstone. I don't know what it is. I just keep easing my sidling up the trail here. As to me, it's just beautiful. And in the morning, early morning, when the sun comes up, I think it hits that, and it must be just epic. And then here's a big Doug fir here. Look at that guy. That's a grandpapa. A couple of them in here. Anyway, the downside is the sound of I-90 and traffic and occasional train are kind of a constant companion on this trail. And that is just a factor of where it is. There are this whole area off to the off to the south is Forest Service lands, and there's just a ton of trails back in here if you like to go hiking or biking or whatever, camping, backpacking. Just a wonderful network of publicly maintained, publicly accessible trails. So if you're in the area, get a map, look on all trails, do a little research, lots of great hikes around here. And this particular hike earlier in the year, like the first half of the summer, is known for having a lot of great wildflowers as well. Here's a tree. We kind of have to... See those scratch marks? Now that could be from a lot of things. A tool. Or it could be a scratch mark from a bear. I don't really want to call that one. It's not exactly obvious. Or clear, sorry. Because I get tangled up on those branches. But they do that sometimes to mark territory. Another source of scratches could be if someone's leaving a blaze, to blaze a trail, that doesn't really look that, or elk and deer, when their antlers grow back every year and then they drop off in the winter. As part of that process, they're covered in this stuff called velvet, which is a tissue that builds the antler material. Oh, there's a train. And later in the year, they have to rub that off. It gets really itchy, and they rub that off to expose the antlers for breeding season, the rut, and they will rub against trees and leave marks. So, but not like that. It's more like, it's almost like a blaze. It rubs the bark off in big patches. If I say anything that you're like, Henry, that is absolutely not true. Well, first of all, look at this beautiful lupin. I think that's lupin. Lavender color. If I say anything that you're like, that's absolutely false, you are so wrong. Please gently remind me in the comments and let me know. I want to get you guys accurate info, but you know, sometimes I'm operating off of what I learned maybe 10, 20 years ago, and maybe stuff has changed, or maybe I was told incorrectly, but I'm interested in getting it right, but gently. Ooh, look at these. I believe these are these are either, no, those might be raspberries. Service berries. Grouse food. I think those are raspberries maybe. Grouse food. There's rough grouse here. Not a little low for, I think, spruce grouse. Or there's another mountain grouse, spruce grouse, and blue grouse. And then of course bears love the berries. All sorts of things love the berries. That's why berries are berries, because things eat them and leave seeds around for us. Oh, here's some rose hips. My wife, Traveling Mel, look at that thing, had a year where she went on a foraging kick, and she made like fireweed jelly and service berry jelly and simple syrups for something called a it's a cocktail mixture. It's not just a simple syrup, it's like it's a weird name. Anyway, made some of those, and anyway, lots of stuff you can harvest from the earth in the wild spaces. I love well, let's take a look across the way there. It's a nice little view. That's all private land over there. Not all, there's a little section of public land where people go climbing, but the rest is private for quite a ways. I love hiking along these trails. You get along a bend and you look out over the valley ahead. Really pretty. Here's some fireweed. Down closer to the trailhead, it's this pink stuff here. You can see the highway down there, and the highway exit, not in the train going by. We're not far from, that trailhead's not far from there. Down near the trailhead, there's some fireweed with a lot of napweed, which is a similar color, but much different. It's a really kind of nasty, invasive weed that will, I think it emits or puts out kind of an herbicide of its own that sort of kills the soil for other plants around it. It's really kind of a nasty deal, and once you see what it is, and I'll try to point it out, at least out here, you start to see it everywhere. And it's kind of a pretty flower actually, but the plant itself is bad news, and it's really hard to get rid of. So that's why there's a lot of these sort of, not just weed eradication, but if you go out into farmland or you go out into the wilds, I think this is serviceberry, sorry, squirrel. Anyway, it's good to give your car a wash. Get rid of those seeds before you go into another area. You know, you don't want to be an absolutist about it, but be aware of transporting seeds and invasive species around, because it can be not just an economic impact, or not just a biological impact, but a big economic impact for ranchers and farmers. And we want to be respectful of that. Some, what is that, alfalfa flower there. And there's still a fair amount of little wildflowers here and there. A few that I can't identify. This is fun. We're getting into that down timber area I was talking about. You can kind of peek through the trees here and see the large landscape. Busy doings. Here's some more fireweed down here. I won't point out every flower, but it's kind of nice to point out sometimes. You don't want to just look at the trail. Or maybe you do, let me know. I'm open to feedback. The last 2 days, I have gotten, for the first time, tips through the YouTube app. I've done it, I've had it done, people have been very generous about doing that on a couple of live streams that I've done. Sorry, let me show you these little white flowers, not sure what they are. Daisies maybe? I don't know. But for the first time, I've gotten 2 tips through just older videos, and there's a forget what the little button is up there with share and all of the stuff right below the video, but it really made me feel good. Really made my day. So thank you guys, I appreciate that. Ooh, some more paintbrush. Look at that. Yeah, it's a great way to support these channels, I think. You know, sorry. Maybe not every flower, but maybe every species. I mean, bluebells? I don't know what those are. Pretty though. You know, and a lot of the people do this as a business. A lot of people just do it for fun. But you know, we're not charging for it, and I'm sort of a mix. It helps me pay for my travel, so that's why I have ads running. Just a little bit of the travels. But it's a lot of fun. And so it's not just about the money, it's about the encouragement and the applause. And so certainly don't need it, and I don't expect it, but it sure makes my day when it happens. So shout out to you guys. or gals. Can't always tell by names or handles. So, oh, look at this. So pleasant. Up. Now, here is the napweed. The gnarly, gnarly spotted napweed. Disgusting. Right? Obviously I'm being hyperbolic, but it's pretty flower. Nice color. But man, it can, you can see it's going to be all in here. And from here on out. And a lot of that is carried by people and dogs, bicycles. And, you know, not consciously, there's not only so much you can do about it. Yeah, you can see it all in here. And it's mostly right next to the trail. But man, when we let these weeds get a bee. I love seeing bees. I haven't seen many bees this year. Sorry. When we let these things get a foothold without really doing anything about them, they can become a real problem fairly quickly. And the longer we let it go, the more expensive and hard it is to fix. Kind of the tragedy of the commons in some ways. All right, here is where the climbers access trail splits off from the main trail. The main trail goes off to the right here. I'll do a little spin maneuver and show you that, but it goes up to Chestnut Mountain, which is another few miles. I'll spin around here. Look at all this napweed. See, that's what I'm saying. Once you see it, you can't miss it. So you see the climbing access sign. Trail is easy to miss there, but the main trail goes up yonder. And you can kind of see bike tracks in here too. And you can see it's a little bit more than just foot traffic in there. It's bikes have been up here, and I'm all about sharing the trail, sharing the land, as long as we all share it with each other. Meaning, don't come down here at 30 miles an hour getting your adrenaline rush and run into me, please. Or my kids. But definitely enjoy these public lands. I'm not super fit, and everything's relative, I guess. Some of you maybe might be like, you just walked 2 miles up a trail and back. But relatively speaking, I'm not fit enough to ride a bicycle straight up this hillside. So I've been very much enthused and interested and fascinated by electric bikes. And there's definitely some issues around them, particularly around respect for others, right? Some folks really enjoy amping these bikes up, going super fast, going super hard, and then they get on which is not a problem. The problem is when they get on a trail with pedestrians and kids and dogs and they want to go 35 miles an hour on a single track or even on a paved bike path in a national park. That begins to be a problem. We need to figure out. Oh, got a trail runner here. Hi there. Super, well, that's an awkward way of saying it. It is very much not uncommon. It is a common sight to see people running on this trail. Back to electric bikes. So we have to figure out, I think, a cultural balance, a cultural norm around electric bike usage and how we interact with each other, and balancing the costs and the benefits. But long way of getting around to the fact that I want one. And I want to ride these trails not super fast, but just because it makes them so much more accessible, and it does it without a big combustion engine, loud combustion engine, so you're not creating a pollution of noise around throughout the forest, right? That sound travels for miles and miles. Ooh, look at this. I don't know what this is. Look at those purple leaves. That's pretty cool. If you know what that is, comment section. So last week I walked in Red Lodge and it was 50 or 60 degrees. And it's been kind of quickly ramped up into the 90s. Hit up, I think it may have hit 100 on Wednesday. Just shy, if not. And mid 90s the rest of the week. It's a Saturday today. And like I said, we had heavy rains last night, but it dried out quickly. Most of it. So that split in the trail that I pointed out earlier is about a mile from the trailhead. So we got a ways to go, but it won't be, I don't think it'll be another hour-long hike, especially since this is a little bit quicker. Anybody notice anything? My new pet peeve? Alrighty. Ooh, look at that paintbrush over there. That's super brilliant. Red. Oh, so pretty. Hopefully you're not catching too much of my huffing and puffing here. Oh, pretty little stream here. Little freshet, rivulet, I guess. One of my channels I was doing for a while and I'd like to get back to is called, look at that, Amazing Nature Relaxation. It's gone by a couple other names over the years, but that would be a perfect place to set up a camera and just let it roll. You get the highway sounds, but you'd also get that little clinkling of the water gently moving over the rocks. Look at all these white flowers. Aren't they pretty? Oh. See, this is why we need public lands. So we can come out and see this. That is not napweed, that's thistle. And it also has a very pretty flower. I don't know if that's invasive or natural, but it's around. Someone commented years ago now that requested, oh, look at this, the smells, to share the smells that I might experience. You know, it's hard to relate that obviously through video. And I'm just passing through that little ravine and the cool air is coming down and it has a lot of this sort of wet, moist earth, plant smell that's hard to describe, but it sure is pleasant. It's got a little bit of a sweetness to it. Heard some other hikers behind me. Over here is a mix of Doug fir and some spruce in there too. Spruce have the sharper, pointier tops. And the Doug firs have these branches that kind of arc up. Oh, we got some bikers. Cool. Hi there. Good, how are you? More?
Wow.
Awesome. See what I'm saying? That is totally wonderfully respectful and courteous. I stepped off the trail. She slowed down, told me about more traffic coming. Love it. Oh, here we go. Some pups. Hi there. Happy, happy dogs. That guy's in jeans. That is... I don't know if you heard that, but the dog's got a dog squeaky toy. He had jeans and a felt kind of mountain hat on. Mountain cowboy hat. Looked like a wool plaid shirt and suspenders. That guy does not give a care. Love it. Anyway, you know, people out enjoying the public lands together. I'm going to keep harping on that because it's one of my favorite topics. It means a lot to me. Look at these yellow flowers. They look like dandelions, but they are not. Okay, settle down. Getting to be like traveling Mel. She loves the flowers, and I don't want to get her in trouble or sound unappreciative, but she may have more wildflower photos than family photos on her phone. It's pretty close either way. I don't know if you can hear it, but the downside of these sandals, they're Chacos and they're great. I love them. Wear them all the time. But they get a little squeaky and they get a little sweaty and wet. Hopefully that's not overpowering the sound of the nature sound in the highway. Jokes. Some pretty purple flowers as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you the sign. Sorry. This area and trail, one no motorized vehicles, but has been developed and maintained by, the access has been maintained by the Gallatin Valley Land Trust, which is a nonprofit over in Gallatin Valley, Bozeman area. And they do a lot of that. They buy conservation easements, they buy easements to allow public access to land, they develop and maintain trails, they do a lot of really good stuff to make Gallatin County and the surrounding areas more enjoyable, more recreationable, more accessible to recreation. It's a really great organization. If you're in Bozeman or have moved to Bozeman recently, definitely check them out and consider helping them out because it's a great organization. Little clouds, a little cool air, mountains across the highway there. Storm clouds are still ways off. God, that guy in his jeans, man, that's respect right there. Pick up the pace a little bit here as we hit the 45-minute zone. Can't really see the numbers on the screen anymore. 44. You can see this, maybe you can get a sense of how the slope of this trail, it's not super steep, but it's definitely not level. It's totally doable, totally accessible. In fact, it's a favorite trail for the homeschool groups because you can bring your littles out here midweek and just go as far as you want, as far as they're willing to make it. If you've ever hiked with toddlers, it's not a really fast pace. You don't cover a lot of ground, but you have fun. Oh, here comes somebody up the hill on a bicycle. You go, man. Hi there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Man, respect. Makes it look doable. That's a pretty steep slope to come up on a bike. That's all I'm saying. Pretty green lichen on that trunk. Butterfly. Cartiofa. I'm due Duolingo. Try to do daily, little couple lessons. Been working on German for the last year. Oh, runner. And you bet. But since we're going to go to Italy in a month here, less than a month, I'm going to switch back to Italian. I studied Italian in the 1990s in Florence. But I've remembered a lot, but I've also forgotten a lot. So I need to make that switch. But I'm trying to make a milestone before I get there in the German. Anyway, I think Carciofa is butterfly. No, that's farfalle. Carciofa is artichoke. So farfalle, which is also a type of pasta, which we would call bow tie pasta, but I believe they call it butterfly pasta. Same. Told you I was going to talk a lot on this. Got that tree split right over. Just saw a tanager in there. We get those guys in our yards in June. They come in, they migrate in, and they eat like oranges and other seeds and stuff. It's right on that top of the little tree. I wish I could get you a better thing. Black and yellow with a really brilliant red head. When we see them in town, they're not quite as bright as that. They're just, I think, starting to develop their breeding plumage. And man, they are just such a pretty bird. I think they're a western tanager, maybe a scarlet tanager. Anyway, tanagers. See how close we're getting to the highway down there. Trail Creek is sort of a frontage road for a little while before it curves over south and goes through the mountains and meets up with its old Yellowstone Trail, which runs parallel to Highway 89 in Paradise Valley. So back to smells. Now I'm getting all these smells of pine and pine sap. as the we get into some of this warm, sun-warmed air that's rising and coming up the trail. A little bit of alfalfa in there. It's nice. Even with the highway sounds. You can see a lot of down timber. I don't know if this place was logged or if it had a fire. You can see a lot of new growth in here. I have to suspect that if there was something, it was a fire, but I don't really see any signs of fire. So maybe it was, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago before I ever moved out here, if there was one. You wouldn't expect to see those, which I think are lodge poles, if it had been logged. But you never really know. Another thing is a windstorm could have come through and knocked stuff down. All right, you can see the underpass at exit 316. I forget what the name of the exit is, but it's just 316. All that's private land up there. One little thing to look forward to as we start to get closer to the trailhead is we will also cross a nice little creek, which, if you have your dogs with you, is a great place for them to cool off and rehydrate. You could see those dogs that went back with the bikes. They were hot potatoes, super panty and running the whole way. I bet they're down there right now. Yep. Looking at the time here, and we're going to be hitting right around an hour. And I try to keep these between 40 minutes and an hour. Let me know if that's a good target time for you. A lot of them are 40 to 50 minutes. A few over an hour. Look at this. I don't think that's a junco. You probably can't see it in this wide angle, but little black and gray bird. Anyway, let me know if that's good for you. I have a few that are over an hour, a few that are under half an hour. And I'd love to get your thoughts on that. I can't always hit it exactly because sometimes I'm trying to get it between 2 points and it takes what it takes. A lot of times I'm just wandering around and exploring, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's like an access road or former access road. So this is, right now we are actually in private land. Most of it was Forest Service, I think. I believe that's the case. So the bottom section is the bit that Gallatin Valley Land Trust has managed and gotten access to. So definitely pack your trash out. Leave no trace, or as little trace as you can. You get into some aspen here, some choke cherry. Choke cherries are got berries on them. Oh, and such a different smell to the forest when you get into this. Put your stuff. Oops, sorry.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. It's just cooler, wetter, but it also brings memories of fall. How wonderful it is here in the fall. Early October, mid-October. And foliage starts to turn and it's cool and just this really strong scent from the woods. Beautiful. Here's the creek. You start to smell the willow. It's down in here. There's a bridge we're going to cross. There's something about it. It's just so relaxing and calming. Love it. Look at that. How pleasant is that? You know? See the other side here? Except for the highway sounds, it's glorious. All right, more creek bottom smells, love it. That's one nice thing, I can't smell the highway, so that's nice. And here's the parking lot. Thank you guys for joining me on this, they call it the Chestnut Mountain Trail, but I call it the Frog Rock Trail. Chestnut Mountain Trailhead. You see some maps and signs and all that stuff. No biking April 1st to June 15th. That's for trail wetness. They get torn up. Anyway, we will see you again soon. Thanks so much. Not sure where it'll be, but till then, keep on stepping.